Each year, thousands of Australian sheep are shipped live to the Middle East for Eid al-Adha, a Muslim festival involving live slaughter and feeding of the poor. Australia insists its animals be slaughtered humanely in abattoirs like this, seen here in Dubai, under a system of controls known as SCAS. But not all Australian animals have been slaughtered this way.
During the Festival of Sacrifice, we had investigators in 3 different countries, and there were literally thousands and thousands of Australian sheep being sold in breach of Australian regulations.
Animals Australia recently shot this footage of Australian sheep sold outside the abattoirs and being bundled away for private slaughter.
Australia flag.
Imagine being put in the boot of a car trussed in 40-degree heat and then being taken home and being slaughtered by someone that isn't in any way a trained slaughterman. That is what this system was set up to prevent, and yet 3 years later we're actually seeing even a greater disregard for our regulations.
The Live Meat Exporters Council has had its own people confirm animal welfare breaches.
We have people on the ground, not only in our supply chains but also outside of our supply chains looking for problems, and they found problems and we reported the problems.
One of the Export Council's members has gone further.
If you don't do it properly, you create a situation where you put the industry at risk, and you create a situation where you have an unfair competitive environment, and that is not good for any trade or for any industry.
3 Australian exporters dominate this market: Wellard, LSS and Emmanuel. Wellard's CEO Mauro Balzerini claims his company is complying with the rules, and he wants tough action against those who aren't.
Like in any other industry, if you don't comply with the rules, I think you should not be operating in the industry.
This is quite extraordinary that Wellard has felt that they need to come out and speak. It's unprecedented, and I think speaks to their degree of frustration.
According to Animals Australia, there have been repeated breaches this year in Oman, Kuwait and the United Arab Emirates.
Our investigator, Shartha, showed immense bravery to actually stop a vehicle on a major highway in Oman, and Shartha is an Arabic speaker, speak to him about it and actually ask him to open the boot. She looked in through the back seat, and you know, we're dealing with temperatures that were nearly 40 degrees, is an Australian sheep trussed and terrified. That is exactly what this regulatory system was set up to prevent.
And they reported that there were sheep outside of the supply chains in several markets, being Oman and Kuwait. There have been self-reports made by exporters in relation to those incidents. And the exporters certainly saw sheep. Potentially there could have been 1,000 or so, but again we need to wait and see what comes from the reports.
Each exporter must report breaches to the Federal Department of Agriculture. The process isn't public, nor does the Minister think it should be.
We always keep the options open for fines. We keep our options open for actually suspending their licence. We follow that thread up with direct contact with organisations that we have concerns about, and the department is doing it regularly. I don't believe that threatening to go public and start shutting somebody down is the approach, because that is what we do privately.
Only those that have demonstrated the willingness to put effort into compliance should be allowed to trade with Australian animals. I'm not seeking punishment for the sake of punishment. So what we are seeking for the sake of the industry and for the welfare of the animal is 100% compliance with SCAS. If to get there someone needs to be punished, that's probably what should happen. But you know, more than the punishment should be somehow the compliance that is important.
Wellard believes its current compliance costs it dearly.
cost us a lot of money, cost us a lot of effort and man hours and man days, etc. If nothing is done, we are at a disadvantage. Obviously, we would not want to have this unfair competitive landscape.
We quite clearly say to them that if we don't get a better outcome when something is brought to our attention, that they put at risk their own licence. That is the process where not only do we bring them into our office, we're talking to them on the phone, we're in continual monitoring of the situation, but that's what you have to do.
We're not asking the government to change their position on live export. We know they're wedded to the trade. We are just asking for meaningful consequences for offending exporters so that animals will at least be saved from the worst abuses from being exported to these countries.
Animals Australia wants action on the evidence it's now provided the government. The industry says it does respond when breaches occur, and it wants credit for the improvements that have already been made.
At some point you have to be recognised for the advances you've taken in animal welfare. Animals Australia wants to prosecute for change but persecute the change agents. And Australian exporters are change agents in improving animal welfare, and it's for all to see on the ground in terms of the improvements that we've made.